Dallas, I don't feel too well.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. This is episode 13 of Dictate, Dissect, and Discuss. And today's article is No Comment, The Defendant's Guide to Arrest. And this is the 5th edition of No Comment. It has been updated and reprinted by the Legal Defense and Monitoring Group, LDMG, in October 2014. If you'd like to download a copy, you can go to www.ldmg.org.uk or send a second-class stamped SAE to No Comment, CO, BM Haven, London, WC1N 3XX. When you have been arrested. 1. You will be asked to give the police your name and address and your date of birth. You don't have to give any details, but it may delay your release. If you have any identifying documents on you, then the police will know who you are. They also have the right to take your fingerprints, photo, and non-intimate body samples, a saliva swab to record your DNA. These will be kept on file even if you are not charged. When attending a protest or whatnot, it's always a good idea to carry only the bare essentials on you. The less police have to ID you with, the better. I recommend biking or walking to the area if you can, so you won't need to have your license on you. By the way, the whole guide is published by London anarchists, so the terminology and laws, as you probably have guessed from the beginning blurb I read to you, will be different than in the US. Nevertheless, I tried to pick out the universal or congruent rules and recommendations. Note that your record will now be updated with information pertaining to your arrest, and this info can be accessible to schools, employers, and courts. This may impact job opportunities, childcare, and higher education opportunities. Two. The police cannot force you to speak or make a statement, whatever they may say to you in the station. Refusing to speak cannot be used to convict you by itself. We reckon the best policy if you want to get off is to remain silent. Don't get intimidated into incriminating yourself. Police aren't going to stick their necks out if it becomes too inconvenient for them, so make it harder for them to access information from you. Here's where it gets tricky. They might charge you for obstruction of justice, but that isn't something people go to jail for. I doubt anything will come of it in a court if no further evidence sticks. You can't be prosecuted for not speaking to cops. Three. Remember, being arrested is not the same as being charged. Keeping silent is still the best thing to do in police custody. Remember, all charges add up. An important distinction. Being arrested just means the police drag you off for questioning and temporary holding at the station. They need evidence to charge people with crimes. That being said, don't make it a habit of being careless. You don't want an officer's gripes against you to be used for cannon fodder when you're interviewing for a job, especially if there are more people lined up for the job with cleaner records. 4. Social networking sites, Facebook, etc. If you are arrested, the police will trawl the net and use information they find on social networking sites, etc. So if you boast about things or post pictures, this is doing the cops' job for them. They will also be able to see who your online friends are. Also, before I read note 4, I have a little personal anecdote that some of you may have seen before. If any of you watch the series Kids Meet by Hi Ho Kids, there's an episode where the kids on the show meet a bounty hunter, and she actually says that one of the biggest giveaways that a convict or a potential person who hasn't appeared for their court date is that she finds them through social media, because people tag themselves, they tag others, they share their location, etc., etc. Just wanted to kind of give that little anecdote. Watch Kids Meet, by the way. It's a really great series. They have tons of cool people on there. Trust me. Very fun. Very entertaining. But that being said, for the love of all that's good, please don't post about your clandestine activism on social media. By doing so, you're endangering yourself and fellow activists. The police will sniff you out in a heartbeat. Untag all your pictures, wipe the metadata, and private all accounts. Consider not using sites like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat that not only store your data, but will also give it over to the police if prompted. Five, mobile phones. If you are arrested, the police will access the data on your mobile phone, including deleted texts and photos. They will have access to your contact list and may take an interest in your friends. You can prevent the police from being able to access your phone by encrypting your device, putting a strong password in it, disabling Wi-Fi, using a secure messaging app like Signal for communication, and disabling facial recognition and fingerprint unlock. What happens when I get arrested? 6. When you are arrested, you will usually be handcuffed, put in a van, and taken to a police station. Side note, police also use zip ties on your hands and wrists, which may cause nerve damage and circulation issues. You will be asked your name, address, and date of birth. You should be told the reason for your arrest. Remember what it is said. It may be useful later. Your personal belongings will be taken from you. Make sure to note the reason for your arrest. Try to give the officers badge numbers and names. If officers take your personal belongings, note if they were damaged when you get them back. You could receive compensation. I also recommend before attending any civil action that you write a lawyer's phone number on your body somewhere inaccessible to police unless they strip you. Write it in permanent marker. When can I contact a solicitor? 7. You should be able to ring a solicitor as soon as you're arrested. Once at the police station, it is one of the first things you should do, for 2 reasons. 1. To have someone know where you are. And 2. To show the cops you're not going to be a soft target. They may back off of it. It is advisable to avoid using the duty solicitor. It's worth finding the number of a good solicitor in your area and memorizing it. The police are wary of decent solicitors. Any good solicitor will provide free advice at the police station. For the time being, tell them you are refusing to speak. Your solicitor can come into the police station while the police interview you. You should refuse to be interviewed unless your solicitor is present. The British term solicitor is used here to mean lawyer, attorney, or legal counsel. When you call for a lawyer, you can tell the lawyer you're in custody and you will not be speaking until they are present with you. If you plan something out with them beforehand, you can ask them to notify an emergency contact of your whereabouts. Police don't like when people know their rights, so I've included a link to the ACLU's webpage that lists the person's legal rights when arrested. Also, as the text will say later on, police are not actually allowed to listen to you phoning a lawyer. They can't listen to that conversation. However, they can listen to all other phone calls. Also, if they have arrested you and other people, they will try to get you to implicate the others. The police want to convict as many people as possible because 1. It makes it look like they're doing a good job at solving crime. The clear-up rate is very important to the cops. They have to be seen to be doing their job. The more crimes they get convictions for, the better it looks for them. And 2. Police officers want promotion, to climb up the ladder of hierarchy. This is one of the oldest tactics in the book. Get someone to confess to the crime because someone else already did, or they supposedly did. You either feel angry and betrayed, which leads to emotional outbursts, or you want to give the cops what they want in the hopes they'll let you and your colleagues go. Don't buy it. I can almost guarantee you they're saying this because your friend didn't say anything, and the cops are getting frustrated. Keep up your silence. This is just another day at the office for them, but it could mean big trouble for you. But what if the evidence looks like they have got something on me? Wouldn't it be best to explain away the circumstances I was arrested in so they'll let me go? 9. The only place to explain everything is in court. If they decided to keep you in, no amount of explaining will get you out. If the police have enough evidence, anything you say can only add to this evidence against you. When the cops interview someone, they do all they can to confuse and intimidate you. Their aim is to soften you up, get you chatting. Don't answer a few small talk questions and then clam up when they ask you a question about the crime. It'll look worse in court. A lose-lose situation. If you say something to clear your name, the police will either take your word as new evidence or use it to bolster old evidence. If you don't say something, cops will assume you're hiding something suspicious. Either way, save it for court. By the way, not to scare anybody, but cops have been known to fabricate evidence against people to get them convicted. I'm talking planting drugs on people and their cars level bad. Be alert. Cops will lie and try to use every bad law and order tactic they can to get you to mess up or to contradict and confuse your story. Even small talk can lead to you getting too comfortable and making a mistake. "10. If they got the story, why do they need your confession? Playing co-accused off against each other is a common trick, as you've no way of checking what other people are saying. Again, if cops actually knew all there was to know about your offense, they wouldn't need your story or corroboration. Let them work hard for the money. You shouldn't be doing the police officer's job for them and leading them to a conclusion. If the officers can't be bothered to do a little investigating like their job description says, then tough luck. 11. We'll keep you in until you tell us. They have to put you out before the magistrate or release you within 36 hours. Only a magistrate can order you to be held without charge for any longer. This is just a scare tactic. Like the guide says, 36 hours is the deadline, so if you can hold out for a day and a half, then you're golden. If they have little in the way of substance, the cops won't bring you before a judge. "12. If you don't answer questions, the judge will know you're guilty. Refusing to speak cannot be used to convict you by itself. If they had enough evidence, they wouldn't be interviewing you. Intimidation. You can't go to jail for refusing to narc unless it's in conjunction with something else. Your girlfriend's outside. Do you want us to arrest her? They'll pick on your weak spots, family, friends, etc. Cops do sometimes victimize prisoners' families, but mostly they are bluffing. Picking on your loved ones is truly the scummiest and, in my opinion, the most effective tactic. We're all familiar with how aggressive our national police state has become, with cops turning into paramilitary forces nowadays. Especially for communities of color and femme-presenting people, the threat of violence from law enforcement, even if you are not involved in an arrest, is scary. I don't blame anyone if they're intimidated or even crack under the pressure of imagining what officers could do to a loved one, and not even just physically. Nevertheless, I urge you to remain strong and not say a word until your legal counsel arrives. As the author says, the police are more than likely bluffing. "14. Start talking, or your kids are going into care. Give your solicitor details of a friend or relative who can look after your kids. The cops don't have the power to take them into care. Police do not have the power to call CPS on you just because you attended a protest or threw a rock at someone. Send a child to stay with relatives for a few days or however long it takes. If you have no child care available, then I would reconsider going to an in-person demonstration. Another thing you should prioritize is making sure your child knows you're okay. Making sure they have medicine and food and someone to put them on the bus and/or bring them to school in your absence is a priority. "15. I'll tell you what, we'll do a deal. You admit to one of the charges and we'll drop the other two. We'll recommend to the judge that you get a non-custodial sentence because you've cooperated." They're trying to get you to do a deal. There are no deals to be made with the police. Much as they'd like to, the police don't control the sentence you get. An officer cannot commute your sentence. Leave the legal stuff to the attorney. Making a deal just ensues you're on the chopping block, albeit maybe with a sentence that doesn't look as bad on paper. By the way, just because a cop says they'll cut you a deal doesn't mean they will. If you haven't signed anything, don't take them at their word. And honestly, even if you did sign anything, I do not trust the police not to break the law or break their word anyway, so. "16. You can't be charged for wasting police time for not answering questions. This is the definition of whining on the police's part. If an officer charges you with obstruction of justice, that's different, but nobody goes to prison for not talking to cops. "17. The cops may rough you up or use violence to get a confession, true or false, out of you. There are many examples of people being fitted up and physically assaulted until they admitted to things they hadn't done. It's your decision to speak rather than face serious injury. Just remember, what you say could get you and others sent down for a very long time. However, don't rely on retracting a confession in court. It's hard to take back what you've said once you've said it." This is a very tough call to make. I would not fault anyone for wanting to avoid police brutality. Torture is so effective because it gets people to make things up or agree to actions they didn't take just to get away from their aggressor. If you're ever in that situation and want to confess, only confess to what you did. Don't speak for others' actions and don't agree to false statements. At the end of the day, weigh the pros and the cons. "18. If they rough you up, see a doctor immediately after being released. Get a written report of all bruising and marking. Take photos of all injuries. Remember the cops' names and numbers if possible." Self-explanatory. Get as much info as you can and report it to your legal counsel or a physician if you, God forbid, have injuries so bad you're hospitalized or need to go to an urgent care. Note the person or persons, name, appearance, badge number, the department that they work for, their license plate number, their phone number, etc. Take pictures of your injuries and document everything, even the non-physical stuff. What can I do if one of my friends or family has been arrested? 19. If someone you know is arrested, there's a lot you can do to help him or her from the outside. 1. If you know what name they are using, ring the police station. However, if you're not sure, don't give their real name away. Ask whether they are being held there and on what charges. However, remember that the cops may not tell you the truth. 2. Remove anything from the arrested person's house that the police may find interesting. Computers, cameras, mobile phones and SIM cards, address books, letters, false ID, etc., in case the police raid the place. And 3. Take food, essential medicines, etc., into the police station for your arrested friend. But don't go in to inquire at the police station to ask about a prisoner if you run the risk of arrest yourself. You'll only get arrested. Don't go alone. The police have been known to lay off a prisoner if they have visible support from the outside. Running jail support is one of the most important, yet least addressed aspects of solidarity. If you can, pool together some money for bail. If you're not an involved target, wait for the person outside the police station. Bring medication, new clothes, and food. Offer to drive them or walk with them to a doctor. If the person needs medical attention when they get out and can't afford a doctor, see if a qualified street medic is available. The one caveat is that, like the author says, you cannot be wanted by the police yourself. Okay, everyone, that is it for this episode. And in the description, I will include 2 links. One to the aforementioned ACLU Know Your Rights page, which you will find covers all sorts of situations. And the one that I've specifically linked to is the section about being arrested by the police. And the second link is going to be on women of color and trans women and how law enforcement impacts them and the police brutality that that specific group faces. Okay, everyone. See you next time and stay well. Goodbye.
Two.